You must be excited by that performance.
Yeah, it was a pretty solid performance all round, wasn't it? I mean, I thought our intent, our pressure was back to a level, and we dropped away a bit last week, but to the players' credit, they responded really strongly.
Is that the most comprehensive? We had some great wins obviously this year, but from go to woad, the comprehensive nature of that result today must be absolutely ecstatic with that performance.
Yeah, it's been something we've been working on, our consistency through games, and you're probably right. I think for the 4 quarters wasn't a lot of let off. I thought they maintained the intensity around the ball and the pressure stuff for the 4 quarters. So it was that allows you to get the outcome. But certainly, we came off the back of a -50 contested possession last week, so it was a good response.
To have 40 shots, scoring shots in the wet, what does that say? And 81 inside 50s as well. What does that say about your team?
I think we were able to. I mean, in the wet, we were able to get some really strong field position early off the back of a lot of that contest win. And in those conditions, it's going to be hard to move the ball from one end to the other, and that's why field position becomes vital. And to our guys' credit, they're able to get that. But then we worked really hard to keep it. So the inside 50, I don't know how many were sort of in type plays where when we got it, they got it out, we got it back in. But the ball was sort of staying down our end, which just builds pressure in the game. And as I said, that's a combination of the work of our mids and our forwards, and our backs obviously holding pretty good positioning.
Have you made a game for +50 differential inside 50s?
No, I wasn't. I only just aware after we got off that it was that differential, so that's pretty unusual.
So what is it about you and showdowns, mate? Only 2 other players have won 3 medals, and now you've got 2.
I don't know, mate. It's just great. I obviously had a massive challenge tonight against Ryder, and I thought I prepared really well this week. I went back and had a look at last time. Things I could have done better, and things I did well. So for me, it's just about going out there, competing really strongly for our midfield, which most of all that was the thing that enabled us to play out the game in our forward half. So it's just really important to play my role, I guess, and they're just things that happen. So.
But being an SA boy, you obviously embrace the stage and know what the rivalry is about.
I think it probably helped me tonight, considering you could have thrown a blanket over, almost 22 guys that put their hand up for it. It was a really even team performance tonight, and to see, all the guys really contributing and really playing well, really backs up those stats. Being able to play the game in our half, midfielders were able to get the ball in our half, so and the forwards are able to convert after quarter time. So it's a really good performance across the board.
I think Ryder probably outpointed you early in the last showdown. What did you sort of learn from playing last time?
It's probably the first time, last previous showdown, that I actually played against him full time as a ruckman. At Essendon, he spent a lot of time, ruck and forward, and previously Lobie was in the team as well. So, he's really athletic, and that's probably the thing that you have to be really sharp with your feet and not let him just jump over you, I guess. So it's a big focus. Obviously, you're not going to get it right every time, but as previously mentioned, it's just important to be able to compete and make it predictable for our mids.
Great team performance. That's what you're looking for, I guess, any time, especially this time of year.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, that's how we played our best footy. The reality, if you look back on our performance this year, when we've had a really, as Saul said, we've had a really even contribution. We generally get a pretty good result, and tonight was no exception. I thought, it would be hard to find too many guys who didn't contribute in some way towards that result, and that's how we want to play.
And your midfield's copped some wax this year, but tonight you were dominant through there.
Yeah, it's interesting. Our midfield's an area that's grown. I mean, at the start of the year there were questions, but they keep taking on the challenges, and they keep getting better and better. Some of those guys in there, and some of them are elevating their games to a really high level and a really high consistent level. So that's been pleasing to see their growth and to see the sort of they now get a feeling for what they're capable of doing in games of footy, and that only helps them.
You wouldn't know that Eddie Betts was in any sort of doubt for this game the way he performed tonight.
Yeah.
How close was it being ruled out? Are you always confident you'd get up? Or?
Yeah, I was pretty confident from early in the week. I know, and talking to Eddie pretty regularly over the last week and a half, and his sort of progress when he first came out of hospital, he was a bit sore, as you'd expect. But once he got up and going, he sort of started to feel like that initial apprehension that probably comes post any surgery. But once he got rolling, and he felt better day in day out, and he trained Thursday without a problem. So from our viewpoint, there was never really any doubt. I know there was a bit of external concern as to whether he would or he wouldn't, but as long as he kept progressing, which he was, And by the time we got to game, he was, even yesterday we trained, he was jumping out of his skin, he's ready to go.
Did he have to have some sort of, I suppose, contact training yesterday, like guys sort of running into him to test if?
Yeah, well, he completed full training on Thursday, which had some contested stuff in it, and he did a little bit extra yesterday just to tick off the final box that he was comfortable in that space, and he had no apprehension at all. So you don't sort of then hold back a player like Eddie, and he came out and performed to a really high standard again tonight.
Sam, you've been around for a long while now, and the team's been in a similar situation leading up to the finals. Why do you think this unit is more special than other teams?
Oh, I guess, we've got a really strong self-belief within the group now. Even before tonight, we played some really good footy together. This team, a lot of guys have played, 4, 5, 6 years together, and, now we've got some real stability and really, I guess, we're working on, the finer things in our game plan. And, we're a really focused group, we're a really driven group. So, they're the things that really stand out to me, is that, there's a really strong belief and, a real rush to get to where we want to. So.
And Don, Roy Sloane got some flack with taggers this year, but had Pyke go to the opening bounce and had a great performance.
Yeah, and that's another example for Rory in terms of handling that. He's had his ups and downs in that space, and but I think week in, week out, he's sort of learning, as I've always said, he's learning the next thing, and he's getting great support from others around him. And tonight he had a real hunger for the contest, and you could see that from early on. It was like, well, if they're going to go with a Boak or an E, but I think he went to him at some point in the second half. He kept cracking in to try and win the ball, and that's when he plays his best footy, regardless of whether he's being tagged or not. And I thought he was important again tonight.
Can you play any better than that? Is that as good as it gets from your point of view?
No,
it's a record showdown win for Adelaide.
No, well, we can play. We can play better. I mean, we're not sitting here, as I've said previously. I mean, self-satisfaction doesn't lead to progress. And we'll review the game. We understand we played some really strong, powerful footy tonight. But I'll go back 7 days, and we're 50 points down against Collingwood. The comp is that even, and we've got to continually strive to get better. If we don't continually strive to get better and stand still, others will go past us. We accept tonight we played some good footy, and we'll enjoy tonight, because winning games of footy is not easy. So these guys need to appreciate what they've been able to do. But we pretty quickly get back to work, because we're at Essendon in 6 days, and these guys are driven, as Source said, to get better. And our challenge from a coaching viewpoint is to go, where are we going well? Where do we need to keep getting better at? And because the challenges will keep coming. That's the reality of the next chunk of time we face.
Is Cole Harding got a chance of coming back in next week?
He'd probably be unlikely at this point, I'd say. With Harder, he probably needs to do another week of rehab, and then he might be the following week.
So he didn't play in the SO.
No, we'd had a bye today, so yeah. So he'll build his training next week, and he'd be a stretch to be available for next week, I would have thought.
And David Mackay's the only player. I think Charlie Cameron and Daniel Talia both came off the status with injuries, but Mackay's the only one with a bit of. Yeah,
Mackay had a cork, so D-Max, will get that looked after. So generally he can come up with those, but it was a fairly solid one that happened early. Talia was more precautionary, and I think who was the other one you mentioned?
Charlie Cameron came off at one stage.
Yeah, no, he was fine. He's got a bit of a knock, so he was fine.
And you want top spot, and the advantages that come with that, if you can get it.
Well, I think that's from where we're sitting now. We've got 3 games to go. In an ideal world, at the start of the year, you'd say you want to make the finals and you want to make top 4, and we're in a position where I think tonight we've secured top 4. So there's no reason to suggest we shouldn't be shooting to finish top 2 and give ourselves the best opportunity come finals. That's what we've been able to create, that opportunity. Now it's about taking it and maximising, and that's where we'll put our energy in the next 3 weeks to try and give ourselves the best possible finish. It gives us the best chance.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.